Hey everybody, I'm Marla with Nine Health, and this is our weekly show called Health Happens, and we are exploring all things health. Today we're talking a little bit about stress levels and mental health, because we know that health is happening every day, all the time, no matter where you are, and it's happening differently for everybody, and so we want to explore that. Today we are joined by Dr. Lydia Prado, and you're the Vice President for Strategic Partnerships, is that right?
Right, Strategic Community Partnerships. It's new for me. Yes,
Yes, at the
Mental Health Center of Denver.
Mental Health Center of Denver. So thank you so much. It's
Sure.
so good to see you again.
Yeah, yes.
We got to visit your site in the spring and see the wonderful work you're doing at the Dahlia campus. And it's just such a remarkable facility. You want to share a little bit about that with us? I mean, just, it's so unique.
Well, sure. So the Dahlia Campus for Health and Wellbeing, I think what is really special about it was community informed. So we talked to a lot of people about what supports your overall health and well-being in this community, in this neighborhood. What would you like to see? What are your hopes and dreams for your children? And then we had a lot of conversations about what we needed to build to actually, from the get-go, support everybody feeling well, eating well, doing well, connecting well, and we built accordingly.
Yeah.
So we have a site that has, a lot of food, an
That's what I love,
in-ground
the
farm,
food.
a farm. We've got, and I was just in there this morning, a 5,400 square foot greenhouse, and our tilapia are huge, and our catfish
It's
are
aquaponics,
huge.
yeah.
Yeah, and
We could go on and
aquaponics.
on
Oh, we
with that
could.
because it's
Yeah,
so
come see
fabulous.
it. Yes.
But what we're here to talk about today, and I grabbed my phone because we're going to be taking questions from people, and if you have questions about how to manage your stress level, I mean, there's a lot of stress these
There's a lot.
days with everything going on in our community, from the DACA rescinding to now the national anthem. People are saying that there's protests, and there's just a lot going on, and so we're talking about how to manage our mental health, because mental health has so much to do with our overall
Overall
physical
health,
and
right,
well-being.
right. You can't separate them out. One totally impacts the other. You're right.
Yeah,
Yes.
so we're talking today. Please send us your questions. How do we handle this? Say, for instance, this DACA situation, where if you're not familiar with what that is, it's the whole idea that there was a group of people who were immigrants that were maybe brought here as young people, and they don't have papers, so they're undocumented. But they've been here since they were kids, and so the idea is that the president has now rescinded that protection for them.
Right.
So how, if you're walking around, and feeling like, oh my gosh, am I gonna, be targeted, or what's gonna happen to me next? That's stressful, yes?
Absolutely. And I think we do in every stressful situation, there are things we have to, first of all, we have to monitor how we're feeling, right? We have to pay attention. I don't know, you probably know what you do when you're stressed. Sometimes it's other people reflecting back to us that we're stressed.
Yeah, I'm a stress eater.
So
Does anybody relate to
we
that?
got
I'm
to
a
limit
stress
that. Yeah,
eater,
then we need to limit
What are
that. Yes.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
We got to get back to that.
Yes, so one of the things I think people need to do is limit their exposure to all of the negativity.
Okay.
And we have to take some time for ourselves, right? And even if it's as simple as taking a walk, breathing deeply, remembering there's a lot of research that when we remember and take stock of the good things that are happening, we practice gratitude, even if it's as simple as before you go to bed at night or sometime in the evening, think of 3 things that you are grateful for. That really seems to help everybody feel better, because it's a little leaning in. We got to lean in on the positive as well.
Right.
I also try
And
to,
that's evidence-based research,
absolutely,
yes, that you're suggesting.
absolutely.
Is, think of 3 things that you're grateful for every night. That's a great tip.
Yeah, and if you want to write them down, even better.
Yeah.
That really helps kind of reset.
You can
Our
even write them
stress
in your
level.
social
And your-
media
Yeah,
feed,
that's
yeah?
right. Yeah, you share them with everybody, we'll all benefit
There
and
you
feel
go.
better.
There you go.
Because another really good stress buster is connections. Say being connected to the people who care, like you care, leaning into the conversation. Sometimes people want to avoid it, but that ends up you're dealing with so much yourself. So it's kind of like stay connected. Have conversations.
Right.
Remember that there are other champions in the world. I'm always comforted to know that you're in the world, that others are doing great work. I just met with Paula Schrafer this morning. She's the CEO of Spring Institute for Intercultural Learning, and she's describing all of the amazing things they're doing for people. So connect with those people.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
Yes.
Connect with
yes,
people.
Remember champions.
So we do have some questions that people want to know about.
Okay.
So I'm gonna ask you the question here. Melody, thanks for asking the question. Would like to know. She says sometimes I feel overwhelmed by current events.
Right.
I feel like it would be better for me to stop watching and paying attention to the news, which is something you just
Right,
kind of mentioned.
right.
Limit your exposure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel it would be irresponsible to ignore current events. How do you balance that?
Yeah. Well, I get alerts on my phone. You can
Yes.
stay current without sitting and watching this for more than 10, 15 minutes, 30 minutes at a time. So when I say stay, unplug for a little while, this conversation isn't going away.
Mm-hmm.
You will be updated. It's kind of like people think they have to know everything this moment, and that you don't. You need to know some. This conversation is changing. You can plug in tomorrow, 15 more minutes, and you'll get your updates. You can check into Facebook anytime, your media outlets anytime.
Right.
You need to be conscious that the conversation is going on, and you can be updated, but do not attend to this constantly.
Yeah.
It's
So
not
don't sit and
helpful.
watch
No.
all day
No.
long, the news.
We
or-
have to
Yes, you should
monitor
watch
our exposure, but then also there has to be room for this, like I'm saying, connecting, walking, staying still for a moment, making a phone call, remembering a friend who's doing wonderful things that keeps you lifted, right?
Those are good
You got to
strategies.
balance it out.
So I have a question here.
Uh-huh.
How do you manage the stress when you're having conversations with people who may not agree with you, who have a different perspective? We actually had this experience just the other day, and we, had a conversation that, there were different perspectives, and, it's kind of like, gosh, how do you manage the stress and keep yourself in kind of a even keel when you're talking to people who don't agree, have different perspectives?
Right. I think part of the stress is that we want people to agree with us.
Isn't that
Right?
right?
Well,
If
I
everyone
mean,
just agree with me, we'd be
it
a lot
wouldn't be
better off,
wouldn't
I
we be
think.
fine, right?
Yeah, we'd be fine.
Yeah, especially if there's two of us. We'd be fine. Anyway, so I think what we need to let folks understand is that, to me, it's kind of like the more you listen deeply to that other side, because it's kind of like just really, really, really try to understand where people are coming from. Because the stress, again, comes from they're not, that's not right, or that, that you have your own perspective that you're bringing, and because they're not matching, it's kind of like let go. This is hard. Let go of your own perspective for a minute and just listen to the point where you think you could repeat back what the person is saying, and then it stays off that stress track, and it goes into this listening, understanding, which is a different experience, but we have to allow that to happen. I want other people to listen to me that way, so I think it is only fair that we ask ourselves to do the same for others, because that is the only way a little forward movement can happen. And I think if anything is going to combat stress, it's like finding some alignment and some common ground.
Right. And that's with anything, right? Not just the
Absolutely.
current situations.
Absolutely.
But what you're saying really is, I don't know how many times I've caught myself, and I'll tell it one on myself right now, is waiting till it's my time to talk.
Right.
As opposed to really,
and you're editing
really
as
listening to what you're saying.
and asking people where is it that we want to get to, because I think that if we listened hard enough, we might have the same outcome in mind, and let's start there and work backwards. But I don't think we're doing enough deep listening to each other. I think everybody is so polarized, and it's, in the building of Dahlia, I found it was exceedingly important to listen to the people who disagreed with me the most and who were loudest about it, because there was something there that they weren't feeling listened to. They weren't feeling validated. And so, and everybody had this kernel of truth that I needed to touch there. So
now you're a professional, so you could do that. What about us? What's
I
tip for us? Like, what if you just can't see the other perspective? You're not seeing it. What Any tips? Because we're lay people, we
Any
need
tips
help,
about-
right? You need help.
I would think to listen just as much as a little bit then. Listen, maybe you go do a little research, maybe you read a little bit, maybe that's a little, if it's not so personal and with so much affect, maybe there's a way of doing this without, because people, once their emotions are up, it gets
Right.
much, much, much harder
That's
to
right.
do that
So
listening.
maybe listen a little bit, and then kind of go
Try
away
to-
from the conversation and try and digest it, and maybe that would be more helpful than staying in a conversation.
Right,
that's
that you really
emotional.
can't, aren't going to manage well.
Very-
You don't have to have every conversation. You don't have to take this on. You can go, or I can talk to you about, you wouldn't believe what so-and-so said, and you can help me kind of like, well, what was that like for you? And help me kind of calm
Okay,
down.
you got to scoot closer.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So you got to
All
pretend
right.
like you like
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we're
I
good.
know it's.
Oh, right,
is that
right,
breath
that's easy.
mint or something? I don't-
It's probably me. I'm worried I didn't brush my
No,
teeth before this. Yeah.
So now we want to see you because you are the expert, and we have
Oh,
questions
goodness.
about what do we do here with all of our stress levels. And one of the things I wonder about is how do you notice that your stress is high? I myself might just say, "Oh, I'm fine," when actually the stress level is high. What are the telltale signs? How do we know? Recognize?
Oh, I think people recognize when they're not, when their usual rhythms of their lives are a little, so maybe you're not sleeping as well. Maybe you're
Sleep.
not eating as well. Because
We
those
talked
are,
about my stress
yes,
eating already.
Well,
Yeah. What
yeah.
do you do about that?
So what do you do about that?
I eat things. I need help. Help me.
Everybody, we all need help. I mean, again, it's kind of like, well, then what is feeding the stress, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Asking that question.
yeah, just kind of like what. One question I like to ask myself is like, what is disturbing my peace? If I really, but then you need to give yourself 5 minutes to sit in a chair and ask that question.
Okay.
And really think about
What
it.
is disturbing
What is
my
disturbing my
peace?
peace? And whatever that is, probably is something I need to talk to a friend about, or, maybe walk and think about why that's so, what I need to do about it. Maybe I'm not paying attention to all the good things that are going on. Maybe this one thing isn't as big as I think it is. But what is it? Just kind of ask
Yeah.
yourself, and then corral the supports. Go, nurture somebody else. Being generous, always has a real positive impact. Doing something for somebody else, offering to go to lunch with them, offering to do some small thing, always has benefits, I think, that we don't. It takes us out of our own
We wanna
heads, so
do
to speak.
something, don't we?
Yes, everybody wants to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Manage it.
Yeah.
Talk just a little bit about this idea about walking around every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know who's watching, or if you're, undocumented or documented. For that matter, no one knows if I'm documented or undocumented.
Mm-hmm. Me either.
And
Right,
so,
right.
That has to be kind of a stressful feeling if you don't have papers. What are your tips for people and those of us? How can we help?
Yeah, so we do have a number of families and folks who are feeling particularly stressed because it's a safety issue, right?
Yes.
And so it's kind of like, how do we help other people feel safe? And I think, for so long we kind of assume safety in different places. And I think, like if the Mental Health Center of Denver, or I liked what DPS did in terms of you have to actively say, this is a safe space. Somebody needs to actively let me know, one way or another, if it's personal, like you're safe with me.
Yeah.
I have to take on that responsibility for others by making eye contact, by saying hello, by validating a person's presence. We can all do that for each other.
So
We can
that's-
all do that for each other, and a lot of us need to do more of that, because there are people who aren't going to be doing that.
They aren't
You-
safe, maybe.
Right.
Right. So by
Right.
making eye contact and saying hello, that actually is doing
It's a
something.
connection point, right? It is doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great because
So-
I wondered what I could do, in my everyday life.
Or
I
you
don't
could
know.
be helpful in small ways. Again, to me, it's about, people talk about being invisible, like this syndrome of invisibility. Well, we need to make the invisible visible. You need to see people, like I said, make eye contact, stay closer, offer to help in small ways, open a door, help with a grocery bag, help with the child, something that says, I see you and I am here and
Right.
you're valuable enough for me to notice.
Right. Right.
In small ways. We can all do those things.
That's great, the small things. Well, I'm
Well,
looking at
but-
my phone because I'm wondering if people out there are feeling stressed. And I'm wondering if you guys are feeling the stress from the environment or from work or family. I mean, it seems like it's layered
A lot.
on.
Oh, there's a lot going on. Yep.
And
Yep.
so wondering if people are actually feeling that and tell us about what that's like for you. In the meantime, you've given us some really good tips
Well, good.
about, we could do little things. We can, the one thing that I'm going to take away is I'm going to sit down and ask, what's disturbing my peace?
What's, what is,
I mean, that's,
Yeah,
that's
I
a
mean,
good
it's
way
a-
to say it.
But it with asking the question kind of sets you up to just stay still for a minute to answer it. Put right.
You got to answer it too.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Or you need
Okay.
to just being still and spending a few moments for yourself without. We all feel like we need to react and react and react. So it serves multiple purposes. Just asking the question, right? Staying,
Well, I think that
breathing deeply while you're trying to answer the question.
breathing deeply.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, because that helps settle. See, yes. See,
Good tips.
feel better
Good
already.
tips. I
huh?
feel better
See,
already.
I knew it. Yeah.
Good thing you came here today. We're going to actually wrap it up
Yeah.
because, but if you do have questions and thoughts about the stress levels going out there in your life, feel free to type in a question and we'll try and get you an answer. And we do have health fairs going on this weekend. We have one at
That's
St.
great.
Pius in Aurora, and we have several others going on. And so if you're wanting to get your health checked, including your mental health, because it's all related.
Right, it is absolutely all right. And taking care of yourself is just a huge, wonderful thing you can do for others. I think sometimes we need to remember that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Taking care of yourself is taking care of your family, right? So check it out on 9healthfair.org if you want to find a fair site near you. And thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.